Hey there, I'm Simone. Thanks for joining me today. Today's practice is a general full body flow. So grab yourself 2 blocks and a blanket, and I'll meet you on the mat in a moment. Okay, so for today, I wanted to keep it as sort of basic as possible because I don't know how many props people have at home with them. If you have blocks, I'm going to recommend grabbing yourself some blocks and having those on hand. And then if you don't have blocks, you can do this practice without blocks as well. I'll talk you through that, how you would modify with or without blocks. Okay, so if you have blocks, go ahead and grab those so you have them with you. And we're going to begin, today we're going to begin just sitting. So if you have one of your blocks, go ahead and grab one of your blocks and come up to a comfortable seated position. I always recommend sitting on height. You can sit cross-legged if that feels good for you. If you feel more comfortable sitting in a Virasana shape or sitting on your shins, that also works as well. And we'll just let our hands rest either palms facing down or palms facing up. And then you can either close your eyes if that feels good for you, or just letting your gaze soften. And just feeling the contact between your sitting bones and your block or the floor. And feeling the grounding there, that rootedness through your seat. And starting to feel the length of your spine lifting up and out of your pelvis, reaching the crown of the head towards the ceiling. And just letting the breath flow here naturally in and out through the nose. Not trying to do anything special, just observing, watching, listening. And just noticing that you're breathing. I really believe that the breath is the best tool we have always for restoring a sense of calm to our nervous system, to our minds. And so as often as you can, just coming back to the breath. And letting yourself just sit here for a few more breaths as we let the body settle and arrive. And letting the mind settle and arrive. And the heart settle and arrive as well. When you're ready, we'll go ahead and bring our hands together in front of our hearts. Rubbing our hands together, creating some heat in between our hands. And then just take a moment, let your hands separate slightly and see if you can notice the energy that flows in between your hands. This is an energy that connects ourselves within ourselves, as well as connecting us to all other beings in the world. Our connection is so clearly obvious now in these circumstances. You can go ahead and cup your hands over your eyes, starting to let the muscles of the face soften as you allow that warm energy to move from your hands towards your forehead, face, eyes, mouth. And slowly letting your eyes open. release the hands. All right, so let's make our way up onto our hands and our knees. And I like to take my blocks to the top 2 corners of my mat where they'll be the most useful to me when I need them. So if you have your blocks, go ahead and take them up to the front of your mat and then come onto your hands and your knees and maybe take your hands a little bit in front of your shoulders, and then we'll just start with some simple movements here. Through the pelvis, lifting and tucking the tailbone. And then you can go ahead and start to make those movements a little bit bigger, working towards a fuller cat and cow. And going slowly, letting the breath really guide the movement. So the breath is the primary piece and the movement comes as a response to the breath. And then from here, if you want to do some side-to-side movements, you can do some side-to-side movements. If you want to do some more circular movements, you can puff up the rib cage, take it over to one side, circle it around, over to the other side, take it around and back. And then we'll do that one more time, or we'll do that now in the opposite direction. So just working through that. And then we'll make our way back towards a neutral spine. So keeping a gentle arch in your lower back. Push out into your fingertips. Try to suction cup the palms of your hands away from the floor. And then puff up the space between the shoulder blades. And then go ahead and bring the shoulder blades together. And we'll just work through that a few times, feeling the shoulder blades moving on the back of your rib cage. And then we'll stay puffed up. Start to draw the belly in. Lengthen the tailbone towards the back of your mat. Step one foot back and then the other and come into a plank position and pause there. Okay, pressing out into the fingertips. And then really try to reach back through your heels, energizing your legs. Taking a few breaths, starting to wake up all those muscles. And then using the muscles from your lower belly, starting to lift your hips up and back and coming into your first downward facing dog. And letting your knees be pretty bent here so you can really lengthen your sitting bones up and back. Keep pressing the floor away as you send your chest towards your thighs. We'll go ahead and straighten out the right leg, bending the left knee, and just pause and take a couple breaths as you send your heel towards the floor. And experiencing whatever restriction is there for you in the back of that right leg. We all have restrictions in our bodies and our minds. Yeah, they just show up in slightly different places or in different times. So switching sides if you haven't already. I like to pause and hold because I really believe in order to be the observer, we need to really move slowly, take our time, so we can pay attention to what's going on. So doing each leg one more time. And we'll lift both the heels up high. Lift the right leg straight up and back. Stepping the right foot forwards through the hands. And if you can't get the foot all the way forwards, you can always pick up the ankle and just bring that foot a little further forwards. Coming down onto the left knee. We'll inhale, sweep the arms up. Holding the left wrist, lift it up, take it over towards the right. Firming the belly in. I'll give you a front view of what that looks like. Firming your belly in, trying to puff up your lower back ribs. Inhale, come back up to center. Exhale, take your hands down to the floor. Now I like to work with my hands on the inside of my foot here. You could also have the blocks underneath your hands if that feels better for you. Heel toe your foot a little out to the side. Make your lunge a little longer. Inhale as you hinge forwards. And exhale as you hinge back. We'll just work through this hinging movement a few times. It doesn't matter how far you move in either direction. You could even close your eyes here and just allow yourself to experience the movement as holistically as possible. Great. And the next time you come forwards, we'll stay. Turn the foot inside at 45 degrees. And then really flex that ankle, make the ankle really strong. Walk the hands out to the sides now, and then we'll rock a little bit side to side. So if your knee's sensitive here, you could always double over your mat, or if you had a blanket, you could take a blanket for underneath your knee. And then we'll do a little circular movement here into the hips. And then go ahead and switch directions. And then we'll start to make our way back towards center. Walk the hands back in. Point the toes of the right foot straight ahead. Start to straighten out your back leg. Good. From here, we're going to put the back heel down on the floor. Take one of our blocks towards the inside of our front foot. And then really sending your knee towards that baby toe side of your foot. Walk your hands over to that top left corner of your mat. Making little fingertip tents, draw your arm bones into your shoulder sockets, your lower ribs into your back, and your hips towards that back corner of your mat. Keep pausing there for a couple breaths. And then we'll slowly walk the hands back towards the front. Take your fingertips to the block or the floor on the inside of your front foot. You can adjust the height of your block. Firm the arm into the inner thigh, and then inhale and start to peel your left arm up towards the ceiling. Drawing that right hip back as you send your breastbone forwards. You can rotate through the left shoulder, reach the left arm up and over your head. And then we'll exhale, take the hands back down to the floor, come to the toes of the back foot. Plant the hands, step back, and come to downward facing dog. Good. So I'm going to come back onto my mat here. So from your downward facing dog, you can again pedal your feet out a couple times. And then we'll inhale, come forwards into plank and pause. And I encourage you to check where your hands end up in relation to your shoulders. So lining up the back of your wrist with the front of your shoulder. Taking the knees to the floor. Exhale as you let your elbows bend. Inhale as you straighten. And exhale as you hinge back. Inhale as you hinge forwards. Exhale as you bend. Inhale to straighten and exhale to hinge back. So this is a hinging movement. It's coming from our hips. Each time the elbows bend, the shoulders move away from the ears, the belly firms in. So we, to the best of our ability, are maintaining a neutral spine. We're not moving into a back bend here. And then the next time we come forwards, we'll come all the way down onto the belly. Good. Pointing your toes. I'm just going to slide down a little bit so you can see me. Pointing your toes. Press the tops of the feet into the floor. Reach the arms out in front of you. You can make yourself as long as you can. Feet can be as far apart as feels good for you. Inhale as you start to peel the chest open. Lengthen the breastbone forwards. And then drawing your hands back, find a W shape with your arms, trying to send your elbows to the floor, hands to the ceiling. Sweep the arms back by your hips. And then we'll butterfly them to the front of the wall right beside me. Good. Coming into that W shape. Sweep the hands back. And then butterfly to the front, trying to keep your hands above your elbows. We'll do 2 more like that. W shape, hands back, butterfly to the front. Last time. W shape, hands back, butterfly to the front, and we'll exhale and release. Take a big breath into your belly. And then pressing back through a child's pose. And then we'll come up and back to downward facing dog. Lifting the left leg up and back. Stepping that left foot forwards through the hands. Coming down onto the right knee. Inhale, sweeping the arms up. Holding the right wrist lifted up, take it over to the left. Firming the belly in, puffing up the lower back ribs. Inhale as you come back up to center. And exhale as you take the hands down to the inside of the foot. Heel toe that front foot out to the side. Make your lunge a little longer. Feel free to have your blocks underneath your hands. Inhale as you hinge forwards, and exhale as you hinge back. Inhaling to hinge forwards, exhaling to hinge back, and just remember, it doesn't matter how far you move in either direction, we're just bringing movement and breath into the body. Breathing and moving. And taking, even if it's 5 minutes, 5 minutes of conscious, mindful movement every day as a way to ground ourselves in our physical body, to come into the present moment. So helpful. The next time you come forwards, we'll stay there. You can turn the foot and thigh out 45 degrees. Walk the hands out to the sides, and then we'll rock side to side. Breathing in and out through the nose the whole time. And keeping the muscles around the face soft. If you want to explore the little circular movement, you can. Making little circles with the hips, making sure the ankle is staying flexed. So there's not really any movement at the ankle joint, the movement's coming from the hips. Switching directions. And then making your way back towards center, walk the hands in. Point the toes of the left foot straight ahead, taking one of your blocks to the inside of the foot. Straightening out the back leg, put the back heel down on the floor. Walking the hands over to that top right corner of your mat, making little fingertip tense. Drawing the arms into the shoulders, ribs into the back of the body, hips towards that back corner of your mat. Breathing there. Try to make that back leg really strong, drawing the inner arch of the foot and the outer arch of the foot up at the same time. And then we'll walk the hands back around to the front. Coming onto the fingertips of that left hand, firming the arm into the inner thigh, and then inhaling as you peel the right arm up. Keep rooting that back foot down into the floor, lengthening that left side of the waist as much as you can. You can rotate through the shoulders, start to reach the arm up and over the head. And then we'll take the hand down, put the block to the side, stepping back and coming to downward facing dog. And you could pedal the feet out a couple times if you feel the need, or you could find a little bit more stillness. Inhale as you come forwards into plank, checking where the hands are in relation to the shoulders, taking the knees to the floor, exhale to bend, inhale to straighten, and exhale to hinge back. We'll just keep working through that a few times. Generating the movement from your hips as the elbow bends, as the elbows bend, sending the breastbone forwards, shoulder blades away from the ears, and then we'll come all the way down onto the belly. Then pointing the toes, making yourself again as long as you can, pointing and pressing the tops of the feet down into the floor. Feet can be as far apart as feels good for you. Inhale as you peel the chest open. Good, lengthening that breastbone forwards. Draw the hands back and find that W-shaped arm position. Sweep the hands back by the hips. And then butterfly to the front. Trying to keep the hands above the elbows the whole time, to the best of your ability. We'll do 2 more like that. And then exhale and release. Taking a big breath into the belly. Pressing back through your child's pose. And then we'll lift up and back to downward facing dog. And bending the knees deeply, look towards your hands. Step or walk your feet forwards. Bringing your feet to about hip distance apart, or the position that feels the most comfortable for you and your body. Inhale, finding a neutral spine. So sticking out your butt slightly as you lengthen your breastbone forwards. Exhale as you fold over your thighs. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, lengthen, find your neutral spine. And exhale and fold. Inhale and lengthen the spine out of the pelvis. Exhale and fold. And this time we'll inhale and come all the way up to standing. Arms lift, chest lifts. Lengthen, look up. And exhaling. Samastitihi, Tadasana, equal standing pose. Good, let's take a full breath in here. Exhale and release. Inhale, floating the arms up. Exhale, hinging from the hips. Inhale as you peel the chest open. Exhale, stepping the right foot back, coming down onto the right knee. Point the right toes, press the top of the foot into the floor, and then inhale as you sweep the arms up. Exhale as you take the hands down, stepping back, downward facing dog. Inhale as you come forwards into plank. Exhale to lower from the toes or the knees all the way to the belly. Pointing the toes. Inhale, baby cobra here. Lift your hands 2 inches off the floor. Try to firm your elbows in, draw your hands back ever so slightly. See if you can feel that bottom tip of your shoulder blade firming into the back of your body. And then we'll exhale, release, tuck the toes under, press up and back, downward facing dog. Lifting the right leg straight up and back. Stepping the right foot forwards through the hands, step the left foot forwards to meet it. Inhale and lengthen, neutral spine. Exhale and fold. Inhale, coming all the way up to standing, arms lift, chest lifts, look up. And right away, hinge and fold from the hips. Feel free to bend the knees on the way down. Inhale and lengthen. And exhale. Stepping left leg back, come down onto the left knee, point the left toes. Inhale and sweep the arms up. Exhale as the hands come down, stepping back, downward facing dog. Inhale, coming forwards into plank again. Press out into the fingertips. From the toes or the knees, slowly lower all the way to the belly. Inhale, baby cobra, lift the hands 2 inches off the floor, firm the elbows in, hands draw back slightly. And then just take your hands to the floor, and as if you're trying to pull your breastbone through your arms, maybe starting to lift a little higher, maybe all the way up into upward dog. Good, take the knees down, tuck the toes under, scoop the belly in, downward dog. Good, walking your feet back or your hands forwards about 10 centimeters or so. We're going to transition from downward dog to upward dog. So keep the gaze towards the back of your mat as you start to shift your body weight forwards. Chin stays tucked. Come right to the tips of your toes. And then go ahead and point your toes slowly with control, releasing the hips. Push the floor away, draw your breastbone through your arms. Tuck your chin, lift your hips. Downward dog. Good, let's do that again, shifting the body weight forwards. Coming to the tips of the toes. Pointing the toes slowly with control, release the hips. Draw the breastbone through, the head lifts last. Chin tucks, belly scoops, downward dog. Again, pushing the floor away, press out into your fingertips and try to suction cup the palm of your hand. And then we'll lift the left leg up and back. Step that left foot forwards through the hand, step the right foot forwards to meet it. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and fold. Inhale all the way up to standing. Arms lift, chest lifts, look up. And Samastitihi. Inhale, arms lift. Exhale, hinging from the hips. Inhale, spine long. Exhale, stepping back. Downward dog or vinyasa. So feel free to come straight to downward dog. If you'd like to take a vinyasa, you can slowly lower through chaturanga from the toes or the knees. Inhale into cobra or upward dog, whatever feels better in your body. And then exhale, we'll be back in downward dog. So we'll take a few breaths here. The knees can be bent, especially if that helps you to get more height into your sitting bones. So sometimes I find there's a lot of emphasis on trying to make the legs straight, but that results in a lot of rounding in the lower back. So you can get a better hip hinge if you bend your knees slightly, lift your sitting bones up a little higher. Good. Exhale completely. Bend your knees, look towards your hands, and then step walk or float the feet forwards. Inhale, lengthen, peel the chest open. Exhale and fold. Inhale, coming all the way up to standing, arms lift, chest lifts, lengthen, look up. And exhaling, Samasthiti. Inhale, bending your knees now, coming into Utkatasana. Really take the weight into your heels, let your butt stick out as you lengthen the spine. Exhale as you hinge and fold over your thighs. Inhale to peel the chest open. Exhale to step back, downward dog or vinyasa, your choice. Lifting the right leg up and back. Stepping the right foot forward through the hands. Remember, you can always use your right hand to help get that foot a little further forwards. Inhale from here, we'll stand up into a high lunge. You could always take your back knee to the floor if that feels better for you, if you want that support. And then hold the left wrist, lift it up, take it over to the right. Trying to firm the belly in, puff up the lower back ribs. Inhale as you come back up to center. Exhale, take your hands to the blocks now on either side of your front foot. This is why it's good to have the blocks on either side of your mat to start with. And then you can step that back foot in and down slightly. Try to straighten both your legs. Your blocks can be at whatever height is working for you today. Sometimes we need to be even a little higher than that. You might need to have a second set of blocks under your first blocks. So pressing out into the toes of the front foot and at the same time trying to draw that thigh bone back into your hip socket. Lengthening the spine. So sending the sitting bones to the wall behind you as you lengthen the crown of the head toward the wall in front of you. And then we'll bend into the front knee, take the hands down to the floor, and step back, downward dog or vinyasa, your choice. But finding that long spine once you make your way back to downward dog. And we'll lift the left leg up and back. Step that left foot forwards through the hands. Inhale, sweep the arms up, high lunge. Holding the right wrist lifted up, take it over to the left. Just firming the belly in, puffing up the lower back ribs. Inhale as you come back up to center. And exhale, take the hands to the blocks on either side of your front foot. Step that back foot in and down slightly. I like to use the blocks so that I'm lifting the floor to meet my hands. I'm not like reaching for the floor, but I'm able to then get more length. But then I like to be light on my fingertips, so I'm not dumping a ton of weight into the blocks, but I'm using them for a little bit of support and lift to help me find that length, but without collapsing into them. Pressing out into the toes of that front foot. You can even close your eyes here as we take our final couple breaths. And tuning into the body, heart, and mind. And then bending into that front knee, the blocks to the side, stepping back, downward dog or vinyasa. Using your breath and always moving at the pace of the breath, letting the breath dictate the pace of the movement. Lifting the right leg up and back. We'll step the right foot forwards through the hands. Take a block to the outside of your right ankle. Put your left heel down on the floor. The heels don't need to be lined up. You could have more space widthwise between the heels. And then we'll lead with that left arm and stand right up into our Virabhadrasana, B shape, warrior B. So really letting the pelvis be heavy, root down towards the floor, and simultaneously trying to draw your hip bones, your thigh bones into your hip sockets. Good. The gaze could turn to look over the right fingertips, but it certainly doesn't need to. If you're more comfortable looking to the side wall with your neck, that's fine. It's really important that you find a position that your neck is comfortable in. And then we'll rotate the palms to face up. Straighten the front leg, lift the arms up and over the head. Heel toe your back foot in maybe a tiny bit. And then take your hands to your hips. You can practice this hip hinging action. And drawing that right hip back, letting the left hip come forwards. Pressing into the toes of the front foot. Reaching out in front of you, spinning the rib cage up any amount. Take your fingertips to your block. And again, the block can be at whatever height works for you. If it's comfortable in the neck, you could rotate through the neck to bring the fingertips, bring the gaze towards the fingertips. Or you could keep the gaze at the side wall, whatever feels better in your neck or even down at the floor. One more breath here. And then we'll exhale, bend into the front knee, plant the hands, step back, downward facing dog. Lifting the left leg up and back. Stepping the left foot forwards through the hands, taking a block to the outside of the ankle, putting that right heel down on the floor with the right toes pointing slightly forwards. But I like to work with, about 6 inches or so widthwise between my heels, leading with the right arm, coming right up into Virabhadrasana B, warrior B. Letting my hips be heavy, drawing the thigh bones in, so I can really find that length through my spine, reaching the crown of the head towards the ceiling. Good. Just allow yourself to be there in your body, on your mat, in this moment, with whatever's going on. Good. One more full breath. And rotate the palms to face up. Straightening the front leg, lift the arms up and over the head. Reach through the sides of the waist. And then take your hands to your hips. Finding this hinging action from your hips. Draw that left hip back, let the right hip come forwards. And then reach for that wall out in front of you. Spin the chest up. Find your block at whatever height works for you. And then maybe lifting the right arm. Keep pressing out into the toes of your front foot. Maybe the gaze lifts, maybe it's straight ahead, maybe it's down to the floor. We'll take another breath here. And then we'll exhale, take the hands down, put the blocks to the side, stepping back, downward facing dog, or vinyasa, your choice. We'll do one more little sequence here, lifting your right leg up and back, stepping the right foot forwards through your hands. Take your blocks out to their highest height out in front of you. I'm just going to scooch back a tiny bit and then inhale and sweep your arms up. Good. Now step your back foot in so you have a slightly shorter distance between your feet. And then shift your body weight forward so your body weight is really centered over your standing leg, over your front foot. Take the fingertips to the blocks and then just see if you can float that back leg up. Flexing the back ankle or pointing the foot but flexing through the toes. And just take the right hand for a moment to that right hip crease. Just encourage that right hip to draw back as you lengthen the breastbone forwards. Good. You could stay here. Or you could go ahead and take your hands to your heart or out to the sides or over the head, whatever feels good. We'll take one more breath. And we'll slowly land in our high lunge. Arms are gonna lift. And then we'll take the back knee to the floor. Good, taking the right hand to the right hip crease, pressing that thigh bone down and away. Inhale and lengthen. And then exhale as you rotate through your rib cage, cross the arm over the thigh. Good, resisting the leg into the arm as you bring your hands into a prayer position, either staying here or maybe if it feels appropriate in your body, working that back leg towards straight. Good, just noticing what happens to your breath if you do in fact straighten that back leg. Good, sending your breastbone forwards as you draw that thigh bone back. Good, we'll exhale and release. Stepping back, downward facing dog. Lifting the left leg up and back. Stepping the left foot forwards through your hands. Inhale as you lift, high lunge. Step that back foot in a tiny bit. And then shift the body weight forwards. Take the fingertips to the blocks. Float that back leg up. Either flexing the ankle or doing that half point, half flex that my first yoga teacher called the Barbie foot. Yeah, I love that. All right, and then from here, maybe taking that left hand to that left hip crease, press it back. Lengthen the breastbone forwards. And then if you feel stable, maybe the hands can come to the heart. Okay, take one more breath here. Maybe the arms out to the sides, maybe the hands over the head. And then we'll land lightly in our high lunge. Arms are gonna lift. Take the back knee to the floor. Taking the left hand to the left hip crease, inhale, lengthen through the sides of the waist. And then exhale fully as you rotate through the spine, cross the arm over the thigh. Resisting the leg into the arm as you draw that left hip bone, left thigh bone back, send your breastbone forwards. Take the hands to prayer. Either staying here or maybe starting to work that back leg towards straight. Noticing what happens to your breath. Can you maintain your breath as you move into a seemingly deeper asana? And then we'll exhale, release. Take the hands down, stepping back, downward facing dog. And we'll take the knees to the floor, sit back and take a child's pose. So for this child's pose, let's actually take the knees wide. Keep the arms out in front of you. You can release the forehead down. You can always take one of your blocks for underneath your forehead, if that feels better for you. And just letting your body soften into the floor. And feeling the support of the floor underneath you. Letting your breath soften, but maintaining an awareness of it. And when you're ready, we'll slowly make our way up. And then we're going to come and lie down on our backs. Just take your blocks out to the side. Take one block with you as you come and lie down. Have one block within reach. We'll do a couple bridge poses here. And then we'll do one with the block underneath our hips. So lining up your outer heels and your outer hips. I find that works best, but you can try a different foot position that feels better for you. Bending your elbows, press the elbows down into the floor, draw the shoulder blades into the back. Inhale, start to lift your hips up. Using your glutes, feel your butt muscles really squeeze to lift your hips up. And then release your arms. You can walk your shoulders in towards each other. You don't have to interlock your hands. You can, if that feels good, if it feels better for you to just keep your arms straight and press down into the floor, that's also fine. Use your glutes and the muscles in the backs of your legs, your hamstrings, to lift your hips up. Breathing deeply. And then we'll exhale, slowly release. Taking a big breath into the belly here, just let your hands rest on the belly. Okay, this time we're going to take our blocks and go ahead and lift your hips up. And then take the block underneath your sacrum, that flat triangular bone at the top of your buttocks, and make sure you get it into a position that feels really stable. You could even use 2 blocks here if that feels more stable for you. And just let your arms be by your sides. Props can be face down or face up, whatever feels better. So just coming into this supported back bend. You could close your eyes even here. And we'll go ahead and bring one knee in towards the chest and just pause there. Make sure you still feel stable on the block. And then go ahead and bring the second leg in and pause. And then any amount, we're going to try to straighten the legs up towards the ceiling. Now, if your hamstrings are really tight, you might not be able to straighten the legs that far, which is totally fine. Okay, we want this to be relatively passive with the legs. So if you need to do a lot of work to get the legs straight, but just keep your knees bent as much as you need to. Totally fine. Now letting the thigh bones be heavy into the hip sockets. Letting the hips be above the heart. Just letting the body rest there for a few breaths. The legs can be together or a little bit apart. Either is fine. And then we'll slowly start to bend the knees. And then take one foot to the floor and then the other. Lifting your hips up off the block. Put the block to the side and take your hips back down to the floor. And you can windshield wiper the legs side to side a couple times. And then come back to center, taking a big breath into the belly. Hugging the knees in towards the chest. Again, you can rock side to side. Taking the feet to the floor, lifting the hips up. Take the hips over to the left, take the knees towards the right, and just take a gentle twist through the body, bringing your thigh bones perpendicular to your torso. Arms can be either out to the sides or over the head in a cactus shape, whatever feels better for you. And then we'll slowly make our way back towards center, lifting the hips up, taking the hips to the right, the knees to the left. And again, just a gentle twist through the spine. Letting the body start to become heavy to the best of our ability, maintaining an awareness of the breath. And slowly we'll make our way towards Shavasana. So coming to lie down on your back, doing whatever adjustments you need to your body in order to be comfortable. Closing your eyes or softening your gaze. If you want to put on a blanket or a sweater to keep yourself warm, that's also fine. And feel free to stay here for as long as you'd like. Allowing yourself to absorb the benefits of the practice. I'm going to slowly start to get up, but you can stay here. So if you're getting up, making your way towards a comfortable seated position. And thank you for joining me today. This will remain on my wall if you want to do this practice again. And feel free to let me know in the comments some resources that would be helpful for you in managing throughout this time of rapidly changing news and what feels like a constant stream of bad news. So let me know if there's resources that would be helpful for you, or if there's ways that sharing content would be the most accessible. Have a wonderful day, stay healthy, and I'll see you soon. Lots of love. Bye for now. Namaste.